It started the way most nights in a small town do: quiet, predictable, almost invisible. A neon sign buzzed against the darkness, humming faintly over a two-lane road no one drove after 10 p.m. The Starlight Diner sat there like it always had since the 50s. A chrome box dropped into a sea of asphalt, its windows glowing soft orange from the inside. The coffee was never great, the pie was usually day-old, and the jukebox hadn't worked since Clinton was president. But the thing about diners like that, the thing no one writes down, is that they hold stories you can't find anywhere else. Because sometimes, at 2 a.m, the people who walk through that door aren't there for coffee. They're there because they can't sleep. Because memories don't keep office hours. Because silence tastes better when it's wrapped in the smell of bacon grease and burnt toast. That's where he comes in. The regulars only knew him as Mr. Cole. Never Sir, never Mester with a first name, just Cole. He always sat at the same booth, number 11, the one tucked against the far corner where the light didn't reach all the way. He came in every Friday at midnight, ordered black coffee and a plain omelet, and stayed exactly 45 minutes. No more, no less. He wore the same thing every time: faded jeans, a dark jacket with no patches, boots that had been resoled so many times they didn't look like they had tread left. His hair was steel gray, cut short, but his posture wasn't like other men his age. He sat straight. Too straight. Like even gravity had to ask permission, most people thought he was just another retired mechanic or trucker. Someone who'd logged too many miles and not enough hours of sleep. But the people who paid attention, the waitress who refilled his cup, the cook who glanced through the kitchen window, the 1 or 2 truckers who kept odd hours, they noticed little things, the way his eyes never stopped moving, the way he chose his seat so he could see both the door and the kitchen, the way he stirred his coffee exactly 3 times, clockwise, never once counter. Nobody asked questions, because in a town like that, asking questions is a good way to lose friends. But everything changed one night. It was early spring when a group of young Marines walked in. Fresh haircuts, loud laughs, energy that didn't match the emptiness of the hour. They were on weekend liberty from the nearby base, restless, half-drunk, half-cocky. To them, the diner wasn't sacred ground. It was just somewhere still open when the bars closed. They filled 2 booths near the jukebox, shouting orders for burgers and fries, slapping the table like it owed them money. The waitress rolled her eyes but didn't argue. She'd seen their kind before. Cole didn't look up. He never did. He just kept sipping his coffee, eyes fixed on the black window beyond the glass, where his reflection stared back at him like a ghost that hadn't left yet. But one of the Marines noticed him. The youngest, barely 20, crew cut still too sharp at the edges, glanced over while unwrapping a straw. He frowned. Something about the old man felt off. Not in a threatening way, more in a familiar way. The recruit's name was Daniels, fresh out of infantry training, headed to his first deployment in 3 months. He'd grown up on stories his grandfather told him: Vietnam, firefights, men who came back but never really came home. And there, sitting in the corner, Daniels thought he saw one of those stories breathing in real time. It was the patch of skin on Cole's hand that gave him pause. The veins, the scars, the faint white line that ran across the knuckle like an old map. It wasn't just an accident scar. It was the kind you earned by holding on to something too hot, too loud, too fast. Daniels tried to shake it off, turned back to his friends, laughed too loudly at a bad joke. But the thought stuck. Who is he? 15 minutes later, the Marines were getting rowdy. One of them, a big kid named Harris, noticed Cole too, but unlike Daniels, Harris didn't see history. He saw a target. "Hey, Grandpa," he called across the diner, voice dripping with booze. "Coffee treating you good over there?" The room went still for half a second. The waitress froze with the pot in her hand. Cole didn't answer, didn't flinch, just sipped. Harris smirked, nudged the guy next to him. "Bet he used to tell war stories, huh? Back in the day when helmets were metal." Still nothing. Then Daniels spoke up, quieter, almost a whisper. "Cut it out, man. Leave him alone." But Harris wasn't the type to back off. He stood, walked over, swaggering like he owned the chrome floor. "Come on, old-timer, what's your story? You sit here every week like you're waiting on somebody. Who you waiting on, huh?" He leaned down, close enough that most men would have reacted. Cole just looked at him once, one glance. Steady, calm, cold enough to make Harris swallow without meaning to. Then he said 5 words. Words that didn't sound like a threat, but like a verdict. "Sit down, you're too loud." The entire diner went silent. Even the clock over the counter seemed to tick slower. Harris backed up, muttering something under his breath, but he sat. He didn't know why he sat. He just did. Because sometimes the weight in a man's voice is heavier than fists. The night might have ended there, just another story no one told. But as Cole shifted to leave, because his 45 minutes were almost up, his sleeve pulled back. Daniels saw it, a tattoo, old, faded, burned into the skin long before tattoos became fashion. It was simple. A dagger crossed with lightning bolts, wrapped in a number only certain men would ever recognize. Daniels froze. He'd seen it once before, in a history briefing. It was the insignia of a unit that officially never existed. The kind whispered about in barrack stories, the kind that operated in shadows across Vietnam, Panama, Iraq, missions no one ever wrote down but everyone somehow knew. He whispered without meaning to, "Jesus Christ, you're recon." Cole's eyes met his, just for a second. And that was all the confirmation Daniels needed. Daniels didn't sleep that night. He stayed up on his bunk scrolling declassified reports, digging through forums, piecing together fragments. There it was, Operation Iron Fang, 1969. Casualties redacted, survivors not listed. Only a single line in an after-action note, extraction successful. Led by Sergeant Cole, refused commendation, status silent. That word, silent, sat heavy in Daniel's chest. The next Friday he went back to the diner, not with his buddies, alone. When Cole walked in, right on time, Daniels stood as he passed. "Sir," he said quietly, "may I sit with you?" Cole looked at him, measured him the way a carpenter measures wood before cutting. Then he nodded once. And for the first time in anyone's memory, Booth 11 wasn't occupied by just one man. Daniels didn't pepper him with questions. He didn't need to. Cole spoke little, but every word carried weight. "You think war's about noise," Cole said once, stirring his coffee. "Guns, helicopters, shouting. It's not. It's about silence. The kind before a shot. The kind after another time. You'll learn real fast the medals don't weigh anything. It's the names you remember that get heavy." Daniels listened like a man hearing scripture. Other recruits started noticing. They'd see Daniels sitting across from the old man, straight-backed, quiet, respectful. A few joined, not many. Just the ones who understood you don't stumble into conversations like that. You earn them. It was late summer when the storm rolled in. Sheets of rain hammered the diner's windows, thunder shaking the floor. The power cut out for a minute, plunging the place into dim emergency light. That's when the door slammed open. 3 drifters stumbled in, strangers, drunk, mean. The kind who look for trouble when the night gets too long. They demanded booze the diner didn't serve, shoved menus off the counter, laughed when the waitress told them to leave. Harris, the Marine who'd mocked Cole months earlier, was there that night. He stood, ready to fight. But before he could move, Cole was already up. No rush, no panic. just movement so precise it looked choreographed. He stepped between the drifters and the waitress, voice calm. "That's enough." One of them sneered, pulled a knife. It never touched him. Cole's hand moved once, just once, and the knife was on the floor, the drifter gasping, wrist bent in a way that promised weeks of pain. No one saw how it happened. They just saw the result. The other two backed down instantly, because sometimes violence isn't about force, it's about certainty. And Cole moved with the certainty of a man who'd survived places they couldn't spell. The drifters left in silence, the storm swallowing them whole. No one clapped, no one cheered. They just sat there, stunned, realizing the old man at booth 11 wasn't just history. He was still here. When the power came back, Cole returned to his booth. He finished his coffee like nothing had happened. Then he reached into his pocket and placed something on the table in front of Daniel's. A coin. Heavy. Worn. The kind you didn't buy, the kind you didn't collect. You were given. On one side, the unit insignia. On the other, 2 words, still standing. Cole looked at him, voice low. "When the time comes, you'll know what to do with it. Until then, shut your mouth and learn." Daniels nodded, throat tight. He didn't need more explanation. Word spread, but not through gossip. Through silence. Through the way Marines straightened when Cole walked past. Through the way the waitress always poured his coffee first before anyone else's. Through the way booth 11 was never touched by strangers anymore. One morning, the owner of the diner screwed a brass plate above the booth. It didn't say hero, didn't say veteran. It just said, reserved, until he's done. Cole never acknowledged it, never asked. He just kept showing up, drinking coffee, teaching without teaching. Months passed. Then one Friday, Cole didn't come. The recruit sat at booth 11 anyway, waiting, the coin heavy in Daniel's pocket. The next week, still no Cole. Finally, on the 3rd week, a letter arrived, handwritten, no return address. It read simply, "Time runs different for men like me. Booth 11 is yours now. Don't fill it with words. Fill it with silence." That was it. No signature. Just the weight of absence. They say he moved west. Some say he finally let himself disappear into mountains where no one would follow. Others swear he still comes back on nights when the diner's empty, sits in the dark corner for 45 minutes, then leaves before anyone can blink. But Daniels knows the truth, because sometimes legends don't die. They just go quiet. And now I'll ask you, have you ever met someone like Cole? Someone who never told their story, who never asked for recognition, who carried a past so heavy it shaped every step they took, yet they bore it in silence. If you have, say their name in the comments. Share their story so the world remembers, because silence doesn't mean forgotten. Here at the Human Stories, we believe the loudest voices often aren't the truest ones, the real ones, the ones that matter, speak in glances, gestures, quiet nights at a booth no one else chooses. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, subscribe, share, and help us keep alive the voices of those who chose silence over applause. And next time you pass a diner late at night, glance at the corner booth, because you never know. The man sitting there, alone with his coffee, might just be carrying history the rest of us aren't strong enough to hold.